6:40. I appreciate everyone coming. My name is Robert Warshaw. I'm a retired Chief of Police. I'm here with several of my colleagues, and we'll explain in greater detail as to who we are and why we are here. But let me just introduce the people who are with me here tonight. To my left is Chief Raul Martinez. Chief Martinez is a retired Chief of Police at the City of Miami. To the rear is retired General Dan Doherty. Dan is a retired general in the United States Army and has worked very closely with us here in Maricopa County, and I'll get into a little bit more detail as other places where we work. Chief Sherry Kyler, Chief Kyler spent 31 years with the Phoenix Police Department, Chief of Police in Chandler. Dr. Mike Polakowski, where are you, Mike? Okay. Dr. Mike Polakowski from the Department of Criminal Justice at the University of Arizona. Ms. Chris Ramirez, raise your hand, Deputy Chief of Staff. And we have other members of our team who are currently in various locations, perhaps still working or just not with us here tonight. All of our folks have tremendous experience in the world of law enforcement regarding monitoring projects such as these. We've done this in many cities, many other jurisdictions. We're currently doing several projects similar to this right now. I'm going to let some folks come in, and we've already started the meeting. I'll just let folks come in and take their seats. The business we have today is very, very serious business, and we're here as a result of very protracted litigation, which mostly everyone in this room is familiar with. We will, in a short while, get an overview of exactly what this case has been all about. I think it's extremely noteworthy that Sheriff Arpaio has joined us here tonight. I should say that Sheriff Arpaio has been extremely cooperative with us in our efforts and has certainly facilitated our needs to come to know the men and women of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office and to gain us access to both peoples and processes and documents that are required by the court in order for us to do our job. So there are other representatives of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office here who will be here during the duration of the evening and will certainly respond to specific questions or make certain points, but I want to give Sheriff Arpaio the opportunity to say hello. So the Sheriff of Maricopa County, Joe Arpaio. Sheriff.
Welcome to a great town, Fountain Hills, Arizona, 85268, and I happen to live here too. So, anyway, thank you. I've been a top federal official for 22 years and sheriff for 22 years, so I understand the federal system as well as the county and state situations. I take it very serious when you're dealing with federal courts. We try to do the best we can to comply with the federal judge and also the monitor and his team. And if there's any disagreements or problems, we have been together. We have been working together to resolve those matters. So, Chief, thank you for coming here and bringing your team, and maybe we can enlighten the audience.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. As I had said in my opening comments, that what brings us here tonight is a variety of processes that culminated in a decision by a United States District Court judge. And this has been an adversarial process, but I don't mean or don't intend to imply from that we have to be adversarial. This is all about our talking talking tonight and having a discussion with the community that outlines what the history is of this matter, what the remedies have been as determined by the court, and what you and I, and those who are not here in attendance, can do to not just implement the requirements of this order, but join together and to help make the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, as well as the Maricopa County community, all that it could possibly be. I should say, before I introduce one of the attorneys who represent what's called the plaintiff's class in this matter, we do have a community advisory board that is part and parcel of the court order. We have two members here tonight, Andres Maldonado, if you would just, okay, and Ms. Lisa Duran, okay. Thank you both for coming. Okay, that's, if you want to, Chief Martinez, for purposes of those who just joined us who perhaps don't fully understand what's been discussed today, I mean, to this moment, if you would.
Pues, buenas noches para los que no hablan inglés. Estamos aquí, acabamos de empezar esta reunión. El jefe Workshop acaba de darle la bienvenida a todos los que han llegado. El jefe Workshop y un grupo de nosotros somos los que hemos sido asignados por el juez federal como los monitores de la oficina de alguacil del condado de Maricopa. El sheriff del condado de Maricopa acaba de hablar con nosotros y acaba de introducir un grupo que es el que se llama el Community Advisory Board, los asesores de la comunidad por la orden de la Corte, que es un grupo que trabaja con la Corte, que trabaja con nosotros, que trabaja con la policía del alguacil, para hacer el enlace entre la comunidad, la policía, la Corte y los monitores.
Okay. I think in my introduction of Cecilia Wong, the counsel for Plaintiff American Civil Liberties Union, perhaps I will let Ms. Wong do a little bit of self-introduction, but she's going to give an outline to the group in terms of what the history has been of this case, and perhaps, Raul, maybe with your permission, Cecilia, we will attempt to have Raul be of assistance to you to the extent that
La señorita Juan va a hablar con nosotros ahora. La señorita Juan es miembro del grupo de la ACRU, de la Unión de Derechos Civiles de los Estados Unidos.
Thank you to Chief Warshaw and Chief Martinez for interpreting. We'll pause every now and then. So first, as Chief Warshaw said, my name is Cecilia Wong. I'm an attorney with the ACLU, and I'm one of the lawyers representing the plaintiff class in this case. And I've been very engaged in the process that Chief Warshaw has talked about, working with MCSO at this point to try to get into compliance with the court's order.
La señorita Juan ha sido uno de los abogados que ha estado involucrado en este caso desde el principio, durante todo el juicio que hubo sobre eso, y ella estaba trabajando con nosotros y con la oficina del alguacil para implementar los cambios que son los requisitos de la Corte.
So I want to start by saying thank you to everyone in the room, every member of this community here in Maricopa County, including Sheriff Arpaio, for being here tonight. Every single one of you is critical to this process that we're all going through to try to get MCSO into compliance with the U.S. Constitution and with the court's orders. So thank you for coming, and I hope that you'll continue to participate in this process.
Ella le quiere decir gracias a todos los que están aquí, incluyendo al Sheriff Arpaio, porque es la responsabilidad de todos ustedes, de todos nosotros, de implementar los requisitos de esta orden.
So why are we all here? Chief Warshaw has asked me to summarize some of the court proceedings, the litigation that have brought us to this point.
Ella está explicando por qué estamos aquí y ahora ella va a darle un sinopsis de por qué estamos aquí, lo que dice la orden.
In 2008, now 6 years ago, 5 very brave individuals, all Maricopa County residents, and a local community organization called Somos America, stepped forward to bring a class action lawsuit against the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office.
En el año 2008, 5 individuos y un grupo que se llama Somos América cogieron un paso adelante para empezar este caso contra la policía de Maricopa.
For quite some time, people in the community, primarily Latino residents of this county, observed that Latinos were being targeted for traffic stops because of their race by the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office.
Por muchos años ellos se fijaron que la policía de Maricopa se estaba enfocando sobre todo en los latinos para que en las paradas de tránsito.
I say that these plaintiffs were brave because it is not an easy thing to step forward and file a federal lawsuit against a law enforcement agency where you live.
Estos demandantes tienen mucho valor porque es bien difícil meter un pleito contra la policía donde ellos viven.
But our clients, the named plaintiffs in the case, stepped forward because Latino residents of this county, U.S. citizens and non-citizens alike, felt that they could not go about their lawful business driving around their own county without fear of being pulled over and targeted because of their race and being asked to prove their right to be here.
Aunque fue difícil, estos 5 individuos tuvieron el valor de empezar este pleito porque se dieron cuenta que era difícil vivir en este condado sin que lo estuvieran parando y lo estuvieran molestando.
In December of 2011, the federal district court here in Phoenix issued a preliminary injunction against the MCSO. Among other things, the district court found that MCSO was violating the Fourth Amendment, our right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures, because MCSO deputies were detaining members of the plaintiff class without a proper legal justification. People who were innocent of any crime were being detained simply based on suspicion that they were undocumented immigrants, and they were targeted as such because they're Latino.
En diciembre de 2011, la primera orden salió de la Corte Federal en que encontró que la policía de Maricopa estaba violando los derechos de la Cuarta Enmienda de los Estados Unidos contra sobre todo los latinos, que lo estaban parando solamente porque estaban en este país y solamente porque eran latinos.
In July and August of 2012, the case went to trial in front of Judge Murray Snow, the federal district judge here in Phoenix. And in May of 2013, the court issued its findings of fact and legal rulings based on the trial evidence. The court found that MCSO had violated the 4th and 14th Amendment rights of the plaintiff class through its policies and practices. Specifically, the court found that MCSO had illegally targeted Latinos in Maricopa County for traffic stops and detained Latinos without a legal justification, intentionally discriminating on the basis of race.
En julio de 2012 empezó este juicio y en mayo de 2013 salió la orden del juez Murray Snow de la Corte Federal de este distrito, donde él encontró que la policía de Maricopa, de la policía de Maricopa, había violado la 4ª y la 14ª enmienda de la Constitución, sobre todo contra los latinos, parando a los latinos, arrestando a los latinos, más que cualquier otro grupo.
In October of 2013, the district court issued a very thorough supplemental injunction aimed at stopping MCSO's unconstitutional policies and practices. Both the MCSO and the plaintiffs were an integral part of the process leading up to that supplemental injunction. The court invited the two sides who had been adversaries throughout the litigation to come together and try to agree on concrete steps MCSO could take in order to make sure that they stop violating the constitutional rights of Latinos in this county.
En octubre del año 2013, el juez no salió con la orden final que la que paraba que la policía del alguacil del condado de Maricopa pudiera seguir usando las tácticas que estaban usando. Después que salió esa orden, la ACLU y la policía del condado de Maricopa se sentaron a tratar de ponerse de acuerdo con los requisitos de la orden y después de eso salió esta orden de la que estamos aquí hoy.
We did not agree on everything, but as the judge pointed out, we agreed on a lot. And that is the order that brings us all here today.
No pudieron ponerse de acuerdo entre la ACLU y la policía del alguacil de Maricopa, pero se pusieron de acuerdo con muchos de los puntos y por eso estamos aquí hoy.
The court ordered a number of remedies that are typically put into place when a law enforcement agency, a police department, or a sheriff's office is found to have policies that violate the Constitution. Some of those measures included the appointment of a court monitor who acts as an arm of the court to help to check whether the agency is now complying with the Constitution.
Esta orden creó muchos requisitos, entre ellos la creación de la posición del monitor, que el jefe Watch es el que está a cargo de ese grupo, donde la posición del monitor, el deber del monitor, es verificar si la policía del alguacil del condado de Maricopa está actuando bajo los requisitos de esta orden.
The court ordered new policies to stop the 14th Amendment and 4th Amendment violations, training for deputies to make sure deputies understand how they should give policing services without violating the Constitution, new data collection requirements so that both MCSO and the court and the public can make sure that civil rights violations have stopped and continue not to take place. Basic adjustments to supervision and discipline so that sergeants and MCSO commanders can detect when a deputy might have a problem and then address it, and community engagement provisions so that all of us here in the room today can participate in this process.
Entre los puntos que estaban en los requisitos de la orden se incluye cambio de la política de la policía de Maricopa, en la cual no pueden violar la cuarta ni la 14 enmienda de la Constitución, adiestramiento de todos los miembros de la oficina del alguacil, adiestramiento a los supervisores, formas de capturar capturar datos cada vez que paran las personas para que se pueda revisar si están parando a un grupo más que para el otro grupo.
And I'll wrap up by just describing a little bit about where we are now in the process. First, I want to say a lot of good work has been done. There are many good people within MCSO who have been working very hard to comply with the court's order. Some of those people are in the room today. The training that MCSO deputies have been required to do is well underway. Most of the deputies have now gone through their training on the Fourth Amendment and the Equal Protection Clause. There are new systems that MCSO is putting into place, and I'm sure Chief Sheridan will go through those. And a lot of hard work has been put in both by MCSO and by members of the plaintiff's lawyers team. But in many ways, I want to emphasize, we are just beginning. The Monitor has just released his second quarterly report, which you can find on the ACLU of Arizona's website. And that describes both the many areas where work has been done and done well, but also the many areas where MCSO still has work to do in order to get into compliance with the court's order. And we've probably all heard in the news recently that the court has raised some serious concerns about non-compliance with previous orders that we all need to address.
Algunos de los puntos que ya se han creado, que ha pasado, es el adiestramiento de los miembros de la oficina del alguacil. Casi todos los miembros de la policía ya han atendido este adiestramiento y han pasado ese curso. Se han trabajado juntos para cambiar mucho de la política. La oficina del monitor, esta semana acabamos de sacar nuestro segundo reporte de nuestra evaluación del progreso de implementar estos requisitos por la policía de Maricopa. Y como dice la señorita Juan, pero estamos todavía dando los primeros pasos de implementar todos estos cambios.
And the bottom line that I want to leave you with is that the community, as I said at the beginning, has to participate in this process for it all to work. There are many particular ways that you can do that. The Monitor's team will explain the many ways that you can get in touch with them about comments you want to make, either in support of what MCSO is doing or with complaints about what MCSO is doing. One thing that I want to throw out for all of you to consider is that under the court's order, MCSO is required to video record traffic stops. And MCSO has decided, with the Monitor's approval and with the plaintiff's team's approval, that they want to do that by putting cameras on deputies, so that if you get pulled over by MCSO for a traffic violation, you may find yourself on camera. We think that that's something that is very important to both protecting MCSO in terms of being able to have a clear record of what happens during encounters, and also for the community to hold MCSO accountable when things go wrong, which we hope they won't do. These cameras implicate a lot of serious privacy concerns. Do you, as a resident of this county, want your traffic stop to be recorded? How do you want that recording to be kept? What rules do you want to impose on deputies and MCSO command about what they can do with that video? Those are all things that are being worked out right now between the monitor as the arm of the court, MCSO, and the plaintiff's team. So if you have comments about body-mounted cameras for deputies or other issues, please let us know, let the monitor know, let the ACLU know, or let MCSO know directly. We need to hear from you to make both the body camera issue and all of the other aspects of the court orders compliance work properly. And finally, I'll leave you again with the thought that the sheriff has come here tonight. He couldn't say it was out of a matter of convenience since we came to his neighborhood. So I want to thank him for being here. As the monitor noted in his last quarterly report issued this week, the sheriff has not previously come to these meetings. And so I think each of us being here and communicating with each other and having a conversation about all of these issues is critically important. And we look forward to having that conversation with all of you. Thank you very much.
Fue bastante largo esta última parte de la señorita Juan, es que lo más importante del proceso de reforma son ustedes, la comunidad, que ustedes digan lo que está pasando, lo que ha mejorado y lo que no ha mejorado. La oficina del monitor tiene va a tener mucho acceso, ustedes van a tener acceso a la oficina del monitor. La señorita Juan estuvo hablando uno de los requisitos de la orden, que fue las recomendaciones de la oficina del monitor y de la ACU también, que la policía del condado de Maricopa comprara las cámaras, así que cada vez que se para alguien para una infracción de tránsito, se esté grabando lo que está pasando en esa parada de tránsito. A la misma vez, eso crea algunos problemas de la privacidad de la persona que se está grabando. Y en estos momentos estamos trabajando con la policía, con la ACU y el grupo monitor, de crear políticas de cuándo se enciende la cámara, cuándo se apaga la cámara, los derechos de ustedes como ciudadanos si lo están grabando. También ella le está haciendo las gracias al Sheriff Arpaio, que está aquí en el parque donde él vive y el que está atendiendo aquí en esta reunión.
Thank you. I should say for the record that Chief Martinez did not know that his services were going to be enlisted tonight, so I want to thank you.
I just have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this meeting designed for the town of Fountain Hills? Because I know there have been other meetings and I just heard about it the last minute. So is this meeting specifically designed for our town, or how is that?
No. What the order requires is that we have meetings throughout the county as defined by the districts of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. And we try to bring our show and put it on the road to make it convenient for people. But in terms of here this evening or other venues in which we've been, it's not specific to the interests of or demographics of any particular.
So you're having all
Oh, absolutely, and I'm glad though it was a little bit out of sequence, but I'm glad you raised that point. We are doing this almost every month.
And if I may, just for identification, because there are a lot of folks here that were here on official business. Can I just get the folks on official business to raise your hand just so I can get the number of folks here on official business who are required to be in the meeting? Okay.
What does official business mean?
Well, they're part of the panel, or they're with the Justice Department, or with the ACLU, representing the plaintiff. I'm just wondering, so how many of those folks in the audience are there? Oh, then there's more than that when we're introduced. Okay, so now I guess I want to know how many people are from the town of Fountain Hills? What does it matter? I just wanted to get an idea. How many folks are our town meeting from here?
Well, I appreciate that, but let's proceed with a little bit with our prescribed format, and I'm sure that we can get to you. Yeah, you can explain.
La pregunta de la señorita era que si esta reunión era solamente lo que está pasando en este vecindario de Fountain Hills. La respuesta es no. La orden tiene un requisito de que se haga de 1 a 3 reuniones como esta en cada uno de los distritos del condado de Maricopa y por eso es que esta es la quinta que hemos tenido a través de todo el condado. Ella después preguntó que levantaran la mano los que estaban aquí presentes en su posición oficialmente y por eso fue que tuvieron que levantar la mano.
Sheriff Arpaio has designated his chief deputy, Jerry Sheridan, to be the primary interface from the sheriff's office to the monitoring team. And Chief Sheridan has worked closely with us since we've been here. We've been here about 10 or 11 months already. And the way we've established these meetings is Chief Sheridan has always sat with us in front to respond to any particular questions or to make presentations to the community on behalf of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. So I'm going to ask Chief Sheridan to make a couple of comments and introduce themselves, and I believe this is your neighborhood as well, so I'm sure that there are people here who do know you, and I had the pleasure of meeting Chief Sheridan's father earlier this evening, and I very much enjoyed that. So, Chief.
En este momento está con nosotros el señor Jerry Sheridan. El señor Sheridan tiene la posición del segundo a cargo del departamento del alguacil del condado de Maricopa. Él en todas estas reuniones que hemos tenido se ha aparecido y es el que ha hablado sobre los progresos que ha tenido la policía de Maricopa.
Thank you, Chief. Yes, my name is Jerry Sheridan, and I'm very proud to be the Chief Deputy for Sheriff Arpaio in the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. I've been in that position approximately 4 years. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 36 years as a paid employee, 2 years as a volunteer, actually my entire adult life. And I've lived in Fountain Hills since 1977, so even longer.
Dice el jefe Sheridan que para él es un honor tener la posición que el segundo puesto de la policía del alguacil de Maricopa. Él ha estado en esta posición 4 años, 36 años que ha estado con el departamento de Maricopa, ha vivido en esta comunidad desde 1977.
I find my role today is to give you a very brief glimpse of who the Sheriff's Office is and what we're doing to comply with the order.
La posición de él hoy es decirle a todos ustedes lo que ha hecho la policía de Maricopa para cumplir con los requisitos del acuerdo y quién es la policía de Maricopa.
Oh, I'm well over 50, so I need these glasses to notice. So the demographics of the Sheriff's Office, we have 3,450 employees.
Hay 3.450 empleados de la oficina de la alguacil de Maricopa.
25.7% are Latino.
25.7% son latinos.
The Maricopa County population is 30%.
La población del condado de Maricopa son 30% que son latinos.
African American employees are 6.6%.
Empleados que son afroamericanos, 6.6%.
The Maricopa County population is 5.7%.
La población del condado es 5.7%.
Many years ago, Sheriff Arpaio came to us and wanted to hire employees that had resident alien cards.
Hace unos años el Sheriff Arpaio quería emplear en el departamento empleados que tenían la tarjeta de registración en este país.
So with that, over the years, over 30 separate countries are represented because of Sheriff Arpaio's actions many years ago.
Hay más de 30 países que son representados por los empleados de la policía de Maricopa.
3 of his highest ranking executive command staff are Mexican American heritage.
3 de las posiciones más altas del alto mando de la policía son de familias de mexicano-americano.
He also appointed the first female chief deputy in 1994.
Y también en el año 1994 él asignó la primera mujer a posición de jefe de la policía de Maricopa.
That is just a snapshot of who we are. We're a very integrated organization.
Son solamente unos puntos de quién es la policía de Maricopa.
So since the judge's order in October of 2013, we have done many things to comply with that order.
Se han hecho muchas cosas, mucho progreso desde que la orden salió en octubre de 2013.
So far this year, since January, we've spent $7.5 million in that effort.
Este año, desde enero, se han gastado 7.5 millones de pesos en los esfuerzos de hacer la reforma.
5.2 million of which is to hire and promote numerous sergeants, lieutenants, 2 captains, and a deputy chief.
5.2 millones de esos 7 millones es cuando se hicieron los ascensos a sargentos, tenientes y capitanes y asistentes de jefe.
We've changed our policies. One of the ways we do that is through a briefing board. When a policy needs to be changed immediately, whether it's at the request of the monitor or something that we notice, we issue a briefing board. We've issued 20 briefing boards.
Cuando hace falta cambiar una política inmediatamente, ellos tienen un sistema que ellos le llaman briefing board, que es un sistema electrónico que se le manda a todos los empleados y han cambiado más de 20 y pico políticas en este año.
And they have the same effect as a policy until an official policy is written.
Estos briefing boards tienen el mismo efecto que una política hasta que no salga la política actualmente.
We've created a court compliance division which acts as an interface between the monitor and the sheriff's office and all the components throughout the office to ensure that we are doing what the court wants us to do.
Crearon un grupo que se llama el de cumplimiento con la orden de la corte y ellos hacen el enlace entre la policía de Maricopa y la oficina del monitor y la corte.
We've also established a Bureau of Internal Oversight. This is a self-auditing mechanism that allows us to go out and audit ourselves, just as in the same manner as the monitor audits us.
También crearon un buró que se llama de vigilancia interna, donde ellos mismos se inspeccionan ellos mismos para asegurarse que están aplicando todos los cambios que se están efectuando.
One of the things that the Bureau of Internal Oversight did was create 30 criteria that we measure through a system called IAPRO that alerts us to the deputies' actions when they fall outside of policy.
Este grupo ha creado 30 indicadores bajo un sistema que se llama IAPRO, donde le indica si cualquier agente de este departamento se sale fuera de las normas de esos 30 puntos.
This problematic behavior can be caught early and changed before it becomes a problem.
Esto indica donde ellos pueden descubrir que un empleado del departamento más temprano se puede identificar antes que ese empleado crea ningún problema.
And as Ms. Wang also mentioned, we are in the process of developing policy between the plaintiff's counsel, the monitor team, and the sheriff's office to implement the on-body camera policy. We have the funds to purchase the cameras. We're ready to do that. And now it's just a matter of getting all the parties together to agree on how they're to be used.
Ya tienen los fondos para comprar la cámara que la señorita Wang estuvo hablando hace más temprano y ya están en el proceso ahora de crear la política de cómo se va a usar esa cámara.
The Court Compliance Division has conducted 15 separate audits and inspections.
El grupo de implementación de la Corte han coordinado 15 diferentes auditorías internas de su mismo departamento.
We have established a traffic data collection system we call TRACS that is now in all the marked sheriff's vehicles that collects data on traffic stops. So we now know who we're stopping, how long we're stopping them, for what reason. So we can, when we're asked, and when the monitor wants this data since April, we now have a database that will show the demographics of individuals and why we are stopping them.
Han creado y comprado un sistema que se llama TRAX, donde está instalado en todos los carros de patrulla de la policía de Maricopa, y ahí captura toda la data indicada a quién se paró, por qué se paró, cuánto tiempo se demoró esa parada del individuo, la raza y el origen de ese individuo. Así que todo ese dato existe ya en el departamento.
In implementing change, leadership is an important part of getting people to go along with that change. One of the things that the court ordered us to do was have a supervisor to deputy ratio of 1 to 15.
Para implementar cambios es muy importante que tenga el liderazgo y la supervisión en la calle con los policías, y ahora tiene un requisito de que haya un supervisor por cada 12 o 15 agentes que tenga en la calle.
That's why you heard me say earlier a very large dollar amount. Personnel costs account for 80% of any organization's overhead.
Y por eso es el gasto de los 5 millones, porque el acuerdo y para tener los supervisores en la calle tuvieron que ascender más a la posición de supervisor.
But what this does for us at the Sheriff's Office, finally, it gives us a very clearly defined person that's in charge of a deputy sheriff. They know who to go to when they have questions and issues. That has not been possible in the past.
Y lo importante de este punto es que ahora, siempre en la calle, con los agentes que están patrullando, hay un supervisor que ese agente puede hacer preguntas y el supervisor puede estar mirando lo que está haciendo ese agente.
We've also established a community outreach division.
También han creado una división que trabaja con la comunidad.
This consists of bilingual deputies and civilians that conduct town hall meetings. We've conducted approximately 160 public events since the beginning of this year.
Este grupo que trabaja con la comunidad han participado en más de 160 reuniones. Los miembros de esta unidad son bilingües.
Some as simple as school demonstrations.
Algunos de estos eventos son tan simples como una demostración en un colegio.
Wait, that didn't sound right. Where we bring canine handlers and go and talk to the children at the school. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Donde van agentes de este departamento y le enseñan a los muchachos cómo trabaja el perro policíaco y diferentes etapas de la policía.
To as complex as coordinating meetings between myself and people that are hostile towards the sheriff's office.
Y otras reuniones son un poquito más complicadas, como coordinar reuniones entre la policía de Maricopa con el jefe sheriff, con grupos que no tienen simpatía por la policía de Maricopa.
All with the goal of opening communication between the sheriff's office and the public.
La meta es hablar los medios de comunicación entre la policía de Maricopa y el público.
We've also conducted, in this calendar year, 3 citizens academies, one that was held in Spanish only.
Ha conducido también 3 academias de la policía, academias de ciudadanos de la policía, una de ellas que fue conducida para las personas de la habla hispana.
I would also like to take this moment to invite any of you in the auditorium that would like to attend one of those council meetings. Chief Paul Chagoya is the bureau commander over our community outreach, and he'd be more than happy to take your name and get you signed up to go to one of those.
El jefe Chagoya, que tenía la mano levantada en la parte de atrás del grupo está a cargo del buró que hace las reuniones con la comunidad que quieren atender algunas de estas reuniones. Por favor, póngase en contacto con el jefe Chagoya.
Like Ms. Wang mentioned earlier, one of the key components to the order is training.
Como dijo la señorita Wang, uno de los puntos más importantes de la orden es el adiestramiento.
All deputy sheriffs, except for one, who was shot in the line of duty and is on FMLD, have completed that training.
Todos los miembros del departamento han atendido este adiestramiento con la excepción de uno que fue herido cuando estaba en servicio.
That's 700 employees.
Son 700 empleados que han atendido este curso.
Some of the training that we've done in calendar year 2013, 2014, and I'll just read these off, Chief, you don't have to repeat them.
Él va a decir ahora algunos de los adiestramientos que se han completado este año, entre el año fiscal del 13 al 14.
Organizational ethics, practical professionalism, managing police discipline, managing organizational discipline by nationally recognized trainer Randy Means, leadership and accountability in today's legal environment, a blue courage. Blue courage is an ethics training, but we call it blue courage because it talks about the nobility of what we do. One of the key components of that is that we're the first line of defense to protect the United States Constitution and to make sure people get their constitutional rights. We've had 8 mandatory online classes where we teach on the computer. That's in 2013. In 2014, like I said, we had that 20-hour mandatory in classroom where all our sworn deputies have attended. Approximately 1,000 posse members and volunteers have completed this training. We've also offered training in internal affairs and administrative investigations. We've done a Blue Courage executive workshop, one which the last one was today, and we will continue that for next year, and an inclusive leadership. Moving on, we have changed Internal Affairs name to the Professional Standards Bureau.
Le cambiaron el nombre del grupo de seguridad interna para
Professional Standards Bureau.
metas profesionales.
We did that on purpose because in law enforcement community, internal affairs has a negative connotation.
Lo hicieron a propósito porque entre los grupos de la policía el nombre de seguridad interna manda un mensaje negativo.
In implementing this change, we wanted it to be a positive influence on all our employees.
Haciendo este cambio querían crear este nombre que fuera una influencia positiva a todos los empleados.
Our Professional Standards Bureau has been very busy this year.
Este grupo ha estado bien, ha tenido mucho trabajo este año.
Since June of 2013, we've assigned 36 detectives and intelligence analysts to help in investigating what we call the Armendariz investigation.
Desde junio de 2013 han asignado 36 detectives y una analista para que investigaran los casos que han salido bajo el nombre Armendariz.
These personnel were taken from special investigations, judicial enforcement, major crimes, and other areas of the office.
Estos 36 agentes se sacaron de otros grupos investigativos.
This had a great impact on those areas, but it was serious enough for the sheriff to make sure that we did a proper and thorough job investigating Armendariz investigation and its spin-offs.
Eso afectó toda esa otra unidad, pero para el sheriff fue muy importante que el enfoque que le estaban dando a todas las quejas que se estaban investigando bajo el caso de Armendariz.
Just to give you an idea of what that entailed, they reviewed 4,109 videos discovered in Charlie Armendariz' garage.
Para que tú veas la clase de trabajo que han hecho, ellos han revisado 4.109 vídeos que se encontraron en la casa de Armendariz.
These were either body cameras or in-vehicle cameras of traffic stops mostly.
Estos vídeos eran grabaciones que hizo con la cámara en el carro o con la cámara que tenía montada en su cuerpo.
There were another 2,441 videos of activities of the human smuggling unit.
Había otros 2.441 vídeos que fueron hechos para la unidad de human smuggling, que le llaman, de entrada ilegal de humanos.
And there were another 2,191 videos of traffic stops conducted by other deputy sheriffs.
Y otros 2.191 vídeos que fueron hechos por otros sheriffs del departamento.
I have to say, this process was very lengthy because you couldn't hit fast forward. These videos had to be reviewed in real time.
Este proceso es bien lento porque tenía que mirar cada vídeo segundo por segundo.
And once we found there was an anomaly or a policy violation, we sent those on for a second review to a command officer, a lieutenant. 12 lieutenants were assigned to that function.
Se asignaron 12 tenientes que estaban revisando todos estos vídeos, que cada vez que encontraban una parada que algo se estaba haciendo que estaba fuera de política, se le mandaba ese vídeo a un teniente para que él revisara si hubo alguna violación de políticas.
This process entailed the review of 504 videos.
Eso requirió que los tenientes revisaran 504 vídeos.
In addition, over 800 pieces of evidence were reviewed by a team of 22 additional detectives.
22 otros detectives también revisaron más de 500 pedazos de identificaciones que fueron recogidas.
So since May of 2014, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has spent 40,878 personnel hours in this endeavor.
Desde mayo del 2014, la policía de Maricopa ha gastado más de 40.000 horas en este esfuerzo.
As you can see, we've been very busy here at MCSO.
Han estado muy ocupados aquí en la policía de Maricopa.
Under the direction of Sheriff Arpaio, we've done all of this to comply with the court's directive.
Bajo la dirección del Sheriff Arpaio, han hecho todo esto para cumplir con la orden del juez.
And I go into this detail because I also want the people that took their time, especially during the holiday season, to come here and listen, but all citizens of Maricopa County should know how serious we are about this.
Y él está dando tanto de detalles porque quiere decírselo a ustedes que han dado su tiempo durante el tiempo festivo ahora al final del año y para que todos se enteren lo que ha hecho, cómo ha trabajado la policía por todos ustedes.
And in closing, I failed to mention the many deputy sheriffs, command officers that are here in the audience, but there's one that's important. I have a sergeant over here from the Professional Standards Bureau, raise your hand, sir. Okay. He's here to officially receive any complaints you might have of any actions of any deputy sheriffs. We'd also like some good comments if you have those too. We've established through our website a way to make complaints or to give people a pat on the back if you felt necessary to do that. We've made it very easy to do that. One other thing I forgot to mention earlier on with the professional, with the Bureau of Internal Oversight, we are in the process of completing a separate website where once a quarter we are going to post the results of our inspections, complete and separate aside from any editing from myself or the sheriff, so the public gets a real bird's eye view of what we're doing, the things we're finding that we're doing incorrectly, and the things that we're finding that we're doing correctly. And again, thank you. I know this is a little long, but I just wanted you to understand the effort that all of us, all 3,500 employees are doing to comply with the judge's order. And it's my feeling, and I know I've had this conversation with the sheriff, and I can speak for him, I don't like to do that, but it's for the good and the betterment of the office itself and the public that we serve. Thank you very much.
One of the challenges in a meeting like this is a variety of people come that have different levels of knowledge. Some faces I recognize from previous meetings. Some of you are just interested because the meeting is perhaps in your community center tonight. Some of you are deputies or relatives of deputies. And it's sometimes difficult to tie all of this together. But let me just say in sum and substance, then we'll open up the floor for any questions or comments. But let me tell you what this case has been. The case lasted, how long did it last?
Started in 2008.
2008 to 2011, and then you had the injunctive order in October 2013, correct? Go ahead.
Está siendo una cosa difícil de reuniones como esta, es que hay personas que vienen aquí, como todos ustedes, que tienen diferentes intereses, que están aquí por diferentes razones. Él va a darle después una oportunidad, si tiene alguna pregunta, algo que tiene hablar para que usted pueda hablar. Él va a hablar ahora un poquitico de este caso que empezó en el año 2008.
It culminated in an order that has 136 paragraphs.
Esto acabó en una orden que tiene 130 y pico párrafos.
87 of which we measured.
87 de esos párrafos son los que nosotros estamos revisando para si están cumpliendo con esos requisitos.
What does measure mean?
¿Qué quiere decir cuando nosotros lo estamos revisando?
It means that for all of those paragraphs, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has to create a policy that establishes, that supports the requirements in that paragraph.
Quiere decir, como uno de los puntos, que la policía de Maricopa tiene que crear una política que indica a los policías que tienen que cumplir con ese requisito de ese párrafo.
All personnel have to be trained on those policies.
Todo personal de la policía tiene que ser adiestrado bajo esa política que cubre ese párrafo.
We have to assert to the court and ultimately to the public as to whether or not that those policies have been created and whether that training has been provided.
Nosotros tenemos que probarle a la corte y al público que la política fue creada y que todos fueron adiestrados bajo esa política.
And then we make determinations as to whether or not deputies and other employees of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, in their implementation of those policies, as to whether or not that implementation is consistent with the order of the court.
Y como tercer paso, después que se creó la política, se adiestró la política, nosotros revisamos si están cumpliendo con esa política.
That's what we do.
Esa es parte de nuestro trabajo.
In our second report, we determined that of the 87 requirements that are subjected to measurement,
En el segundo reporte que salió esta semana, de los 87 requisitos que tiene puntos que nosotros podemos revisar,
14 were in compliance.
la policía de Maricopa cumplió con 14 de ellos.
Now, I want everyone to note, for those of you who've understood what I've said, I didn't say only 14.
Él dijo solamente 14.
I didn't say only 14 because this is an experienced monitoring team, and I can share with the public and with the community that at the beginning of these kinds of projects, it is not unusual to have lower compliance levels.
Dice que con su experiencia de monitor en otras ciudades, es muy común que al principio del proceso de reforma, el porcentaje de requisitos que están en cumplimiento sea muy bajo.
That does not mean that we're thrilled that it was 14.
No
We
quiere
wish
decir-
it had been more, but we believe that the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office wish it had been more.
No quiere decir que estamos contentos que eran solamente 14 y que fue poco, pero estoy seguro que la policía de Maricopa también no estaba contento que era tan poco.
But at the beginning, success is generally delayed
Pero al principio el cumplimiento es bien despacio,
because a lot has to be written,
porque muchos se tienen que escribir,
many people have to be trained,
se tiene que adiestrar a muchos de ellos
and a lot has to be purchased in terms of technology and other equipment.
y tienen que adquirir mucho equipo y mucha tecnología.
We expect, and I can assure you, that the court expects that the implementation pace shall begin to increase.
Esperamos y la Corte espera que el porcentaje de cumplimiento siga subiendo de ahora en adelante.
But in sum and substance, this order requires that these deputies conduct themselves in a constitutional way,
Los requisitos de la orden requieren que todos los miembros del departamento
in a bias-free environment,
que estén cumpliendo con una policía que no use perfiles raciales,
understanding that they cannot enforce immigration laws,
que entiendan que no pueden enforzar las leyes inmigratorias
and conducting themselves in a way that makes them accountable to their chain of command as well as to the public and the courts.
y que la conducta de todos los agentes sea que caiga bajo la corte y que los supervisores estén a cargo de la conducta de cada uno de ellos.
We take the position, and we're happy that all of the attorneys have taken the position, that the trial is over. We are no longer debating the trial.
La posición de nosotros y la posición de todos los abogados es que el juicio se acabó.
What we are interested in is implementation.
El interés de nosotros es implementar lo que dice la orden.
And to the extent that people who are in the audience tonight or in the other assemblies, when we meet out in the community, to the extent that you can become involved,
Y en el punto de lo que están aquí hoy y lo que han estado en las otras 4 reuniones que hemos tenido,
and take Chief Sheridan up at his offer to become involved, attend citizens police academies, and to learn about your sheriff's department, that will assist.
y lo importante es que ustedes se involucren en un poco más en lo que hace la policía. Las ofertas del jefe Sheridan, que atienden ustedes la academia policíaca y otras las reuniones que habló, lo más importante es que mientras más ustedes se involucren en lo que pasa, más ustedes van a afectar el cambio de la policía.
When the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office is in full compliance with this order,
Cuando la policía de Maricopa está en cumplimiento completo de esta orden,
they will be a model sheriff's agency and law enforcement agency for every place in America.
ellos va a ser uno de los mejores departamentos de policía de todos los Estados Unidos.
And I can tell you, as someone who has been a monitor in other police agencies, that at the conclusion of those projects, those agencies stand for excellence and stand for models of excellence in policing.
Y la experiencia de jefe Worship siendo el monitor en varias de otras ciudades en el pasado, que cuando se acabe este proceso, esta agencia va a ser un ejemplo para todas las otras agencias policiales de los Estados Unidos.
But our job is to report to the court the measure of their successes and to report to the court any deficiencies in their determination to fulfill their obligation to this court and its order.
Pero nuestro trabajo como monitores es reportarle a la Corte el cumplimiento de ellos con los requisitos y también los puntos que ellos no están haciendo hasta este momento.
Okay? Now, the night is simply not going to allow us to educate each and every person on the nuances of this order. But we believe that you came here tonight for a reason. You either knew a lot, you knew a little, you've been impacted positively or negatively by this order, by this issue, or you happen to be walking down the street and wondered what the crowd was. Right? But hopefully, each and every one of you will walk away tonight with some knowledge that you didn't have before.
Él sabe que esta reunión no es para educarlo a todos ustedes lo que dice la orden, que todos ustedes están aquí por diferentes razones, para aprender un poquito más, porque vieron mucha gente entrando a este cuarto, o por lo que sea, pero él espera que hayan aprendido un poquitico más lo que quiere decir esta orden.
Okay? Okay. Having said that and taking a look at the clock, we're going to open the floor for some questions and some comments. Sir, gentlemen, I promised one gentleman, Mr. Enrique, is it Melendez? Okay, Melendez, Honorary Consul del Salvador. If you could stay right there, okay? I would certainly give you the opportunity, sir. I know you want to say something you had asked earlier, and I promised. And I appreciate you coming here and your patience.
Thank you, Chief.
No, I mean, if you want, you can speak
Va a
from
abrir el
there.
piso
If you
para
want to
cualquier
say
pregunta que
something.
tenga.
Please.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Chief Martinez, los felicito con lo que pasó en Cuba. Señores y señoras, niños, niñas, y hermanos y hermanas de Puerto Rico. Gracias. I'm here tonight speaking as Enrique Melendez, and Chief, you're going to translate for me. Thank you. And I'm the Consul of the Republic of El Salvador.
Él es a cargo del consulado de la República de El Salvador.
I'm also very proud to have waited in line for 6 years to become a U.S. citizen after coming here to study college.
Él esperó 6 años para ser consulado de Salvador.
This letter was submitted as a courtesy to Chief Marshall, and I sent a copy to Judge Snow as a matter of record.
Él mandó una carta, se la mandó al jefe Watcher y también se la mandó al juez Snow.
The purpose of this letter is to identify in writing facts relative to the existing court order of the Honorable G. Murray Snow, United States District Court, as it impacts the Hispanic community in Maricopa County and the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office.
Esta carta más o menos está hablando del impacto a la comunidad hispana de la orden federal del juez Snow.
I have lived in the state of Arizona for over 22 years, served on the Fountain Hills Town Council, and 8 years ago was appointed to the diplomatic service of my home country of El Salvador.
Él ha vivido en Arizona por más de 22 años y por los últimos 8 años fue asignado para los servicios diplomáticos del país de la República de El Salvador.
I am currently Executive Director of the Consulate Corps of Arizona, an organization comprised of 37 nations, including the Latin countries of Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Peru, Chile, Brasil, Ecuador, Costa Rica y El Salvador.
Él es el director ejecutivo del grupo de los consulados de Arizona que se compromete de 36 naciones, incluyendo los países latinos como México, Guatemala, Honduras, Perú, Chile, Brasil, Ecuador, Costa Rica y El Salvador.
In the 8 years that I have served as a United States State Department accredited consul, we have not received one complaint from the Salvadoran community regarding ill treatment of any Salvadoran in an MCSO jail facility or any type of racism directed to a 21,000 plus Salvadoran community.
En los 8 años que ha estado en esta posición del Consulado de El Salvador, ellos no han recibido una queja contra la comunidad de salvadoreños, que hay más de 21,000 de ellos en esta comunidad, del tratamiento de la policía de Maricopa ni la cárcel de Maricopa.
6 years ago, the foreign minister of El Salvador came to the state of Arizona, met with community leaders as well as Sheriff Joe Arpaio in a fact-finding mission. This was an effort to ensure the human rights and respect have been afforded to Salvadoreños, not only in Maricopa County, but throughout the state of Arizona and the United States of America.
Hace 6 años, el ministro de Asuntos Externos de El Salvador vino aquí al estado de Arizona y se encontró con los líderes de la comunidad y a la misma vez con el Sheriff Arpaio para asegurarse que no le estaban violando los derechos civiles de los ciudadanos de El Salvador.
Our Consul General in Tucson, who deals with passport, visas, and immigration issues, has also met with Sheriff Arpaio and many of his deputies, including Chief Jerry Sheridan.
El Consulado General que queda en Tucson, Arizona, también se ha encontrado con varios líderes de la comunidad, incluyendo el Sheriff Arpaio.
Once again, we have encountered nothing but courtesies, and at no time has there been proof of any racism of any type.
Siempre que se ha encontrado que han dado mucha cortesía y no se han dado cuenta de ningún perfil racial contra ninguno.
My colleagues from the Latin nations mentioned earlier in this memo have also met with Sheriff Arpaio and Chief Sheridan, and to my knowledge, many of them have similar understandings.
Otras personas del grupo salvadoreño también le han contado a él que se han encontrado con el Sheriff Arpaio y con el segundo posición Sheridan y que también que lo han tratado muy bien.
While some of us feel that Sheriff Arpaio's media attention is sometimes overwhelming and perhaps over the top, nevertheless, the press has often attacked him unfairly to the detriment of the whole department, in our opinion, incited community activists to take to the streets and protestation rallies expressing hatred and disrespect towards his office and his deputies.
Él piensa que la atención de la prensa con el Sheriff Arpaio ha creado que lo traten mal, que traten mal el departamento y una opinión negativa sobre este departamento y ha causado que líderes comunitarios, activistas comunitarios, salgan a la calle protestando las acciones del departamento.
Clearly, we as Americans are privileged under the First Amendment to speak freely at any time, at any place. But I've often felt using the rarely used 7-letter word of respect is far more powerful in any type of discourse.
Dice que claramente, aquí como americanos, todos tenemos el derecho, bajo la primera enmienda de la Constitución, de hablar de lo que queremos hablar. Pero él cree que la palabra que tiene 7 letras, que es respeto, es mucho más importante que crear cualquier problema.
The bottom line is that Sheriff Arpaio is a lawman who has over 27% of his workforce comprised of men and women from Hispanic heritage. This is respect shown by action and deed.
Él dice que el señor Arpaio es oficial de la ley, en que ha dedicado más del 27% de sus miembros de su departamento de la raza hispana.
As a former senior executive of Atlantic Richfield, I was privileged to have been appointed as a business executive with LAPD for 14 years, Sacramento County Sheriff's Office for 10 years, and in that capacity have extensive knowledge and practical experience of what field patrols encounter on a daily basis. Once again, through the past 19 years that I've known Sheriff Arpaio, Chief Sheridan, and many of his captains, lieutenants, and chiefs, I have not encountered any type of racism.
En su experiencia, cuando él trabajaba en una compañía que se llama Atlantic Richfield, él tuvo el privilegio de trabajar con la Policía de Los Ángeles y de Sacramento por más de 14 y 10 años. Y él sabe, con esa experiencia, él vio lo que quiere decir el patrullaje y cómo trabaja la policía diariamente. Y con su contacto que él ha tenido con la policía de Maricopa y con el sheriff por los últimos 19 años, él no ha visto ninguna indicación de racismo.
Finally, I write this letter with the highest respect, Dr. Chief, and therefore, as a professional courtesy, have sent this letter to the Honorable G. Murray Snow as a matter of record in any future hearings on this very sensitive issue. I'm also available to come and visit with you, sir, and the Honorable Murray Snow.
Él escribe esta carta con mucho respeto y le ha mandado una copia de esta carta al juez federal Murray Snow.
And finally, sir, 2 weeks ago, I had the privilege of bringing the Ambassador and Consul General of Mexico, the highest ranking diplomat, to come and visit and meet and shake hands with Sheriff Arpaio. And what they did, they made a promise to each other to show the 7-letter word respect. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
Can I do the vote? Okay. Okay, first, before he speaks, if any of you have interest in, if you want to ask a question and you'd like to write it down, please feel free to get one of these cards. That might help with our time. Damas y caballeros, bienvenidos. Si usted tiene interés en escribir una pregunta, levanta la mano y vamos a traer una tarjeta para empezar.
Mi nombre es Oscar Hernández. My name.
My name is Oscar Hernandez.
And I have a different, tengo un diferente punto de vista porque yo soy una víctima directa de la situación.
He has a different point because he's a victim of this situation.
Esta es mi tarjeta de fingerprints, donde mi tarjeta de identificación, donde son checados mi récord criminal por el FBI, que yo le he tenido.
This is his card where he's been checked several times and he's been detained.
My fingerprint, yeah. Todas las autoridades checaron que yo soy una persona decente y estudiada.
Okay, let me clarify. It's not where he's been checked. It's where they have taken his fingerprints and they run checks for him. He's a person that's learned, has gone to school.
Lamentablemente para mí fui levantado por las autoridades y acusado de delitos que jamás cometí.
He was accused of crimes he never committed.
Estuve 14 meses en la cárcel.
He spent 14 months in jail.
Tengo heridas, marcas de heridas en mi cuerpo permanentes.
He has permanent injuries in his body.
Porque las cosas que mencionan y que supuestamente escuchan muy bien, que ojalá que se llegaran a concretar, pero son fantasías. Una cosa es la realidad y otra cosa es lo que está planeándose hacer.
He says he hears some of those things that are about to happen, but he thinks they're fantasies. He hopes that they do occur, but he says he thinks those are fantasies.
Después de los 14 meses, ningún delito me pudieron comprobar.
After 14 months, they could not prove anything against him.
A pesar de que fui torturado, encadenado,
even though he was tortured and he was placed in chains.
Y estuve en el cuarto de las cárceles del señor Arpaio.
And he was a guest of Sheriff Arpaio's jail.
48 días encerrado en el calabozo, sin causa.
48 days.
Comprobada.
For 48 days in a jail cell without any proof.
Y yo me di cuenta de cómo son las cosas. La cárcel no es como dice el señor Arpaio.
The jails are not like Mr. Arpaio says.
La cárcel está inundada de drogas, los jóvenes se drogan ahí. Yo los vi, olí como se drogan con marihuana, cocaína, con glass, con las cosas que usan ellos.
¿Cuál es la pregunta? He says that the jails are full of drugs and so young people using drugs in jails. Su pregunta es?
La pregunta es de que si es realidad y cuándo van a llevar a cabo lo que planean ustedes hacer.
His question is it reality the changes are going to be implemented and when are they going to happen?
Porque habemos muchas personas que no somos criminales, como hay muchas en la cárcel, incluso salvadoreños, hondureños, guatemaltecos, que no han cometido ningún delito, solamente han andado vendiendo elotitos o paletas en la calle y llevan un año en la cárcel. Usted nunca los ha ido a visitar a ayudarnos.
Déjeme contestarle su pregunta. Let me answer this question. Su pregunta es cuándo se van a implementar estos cambios. Y como dijo el jefe Washington, estos cambios son despacio, no es una cosa, esto es un barco grande que no cambia de un día para otro el curso de ese barco. Ya ha empezado a hacer el cambio del proceso de reforma. Es un proceso que es difícil para el departamento, pero es un cambio que tiene que pasar. Guste o no le guste al departamento, esta es la ley. Y vamos a estar nosotros mirando por arriba de ellos para asegurarnos que no solamente que el papelito dice que lo cambiaron, pero que lo están cambiando. Basically what I'm telling him, because he asked before, how long is this going to take? I'm saying this is a change that takes a long time to occur. It's not a shift that's going to change direction from one day to the other. But that our job, that this is the law. It's not something that's going to go away. And our job is that we'll be looking over everything the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office does as far as the order, where we would have to convince the judge, to convince you, the community, that the changes have occurred. Muchas gracias, y por favor, hay que dar chance.
Desde la primera vez que vine, los vi en la siguiente calle La Primos, al señor, al oficial y al persona y al monitor, les hice saber yo eso. Hasta ahorita jamás me han hablado, ni se han contactado, yo he buscado, nadie me ayuda. Ni a mí, ni a la gente que estamos padeciendo eso.
Yo hago con usted después y lo vamos a ver, gracias. The gentleman with the black hat.
Just so I understand where this all came from, 2008 or 2011, Hispanic people were being stopped for traffic violations.
The judge certified a plaintiff class of Latinos who have been or will be stopped in a car, in a vehicle in Maricopa County, starting in January of 2007 and going forward. And so basically the policies that the judge found were unconstitutional, the practices of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office that the judge found unconstitutional started roughly in 2007. And the case was brought as a class action in 2008, and the judge issued orders in 2011 and 2 orders in 2013 that both fined that the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office violated the constitutional rights of the plaintiff class, and ordering them immediately to stop violating those constitutional rights. And then the last order in October of 2013 sets out concrete steps that MCSO will take in order to prevent and stop those violations.
Excuse me, Ms. Long, the question was were they stopped for traffic violations? And sir, the answer is yes. Each and every one was stopped for traffic violations.
If you may, let me translate, because you all have been speaking for 10 minutes, and it's difficult to remember what was said in 10 minutes. La pregunta del señor es que si esto empezó con un caso de parada de tránsito en el año 2008, la señorita Juan le explicó el caso que empezó en el 2007, aunque el pleito no fue empezado hasta el año 2008 por un grupo de ciudadanos, de residentes latinos, que fueron los que crearon el grupo de la clase que es residentes latinos, que implementaron este caso contra la policía de Maricopa.
Okay, the monitor originally said they were stopped in Maricopa County. Any specific areas in Maricopa County where this occurred more than others?
Él quiere saber, la pregunta es si las paradas de tránsito que se hicieron fue en un área específica del condado de Maricopa o en otra área. I'm not sure where the stops
Somebody
occurred.
has to know.
Somebody from your, Mr. Liddy or Ms.
Yes.
Juan.
I'm Thomas Liddy. I'm the attorney opposite the city of Juan. These were saturation controls, and they were all around Maricopa County. And one of them was here in Fountain Hills. There were several in Mesa. There was one in Queen Creek. So there were in different areas around Maricopa County.
El señor Liddy, que es uno de los abogados que estuvo en este caso representando la policía de Maricopa, dijo que estas paradas de tránsito que ocurrieron, que fue la causa del caso de la corte, se ocurrieron por todo el condado de Maricopa, incluyendo aquí en la área de Fountain Hills.
Just to clarify and correct one thing Mr. Liddy said, the court's order did not only relate to saturation patrols. The court's order related to traffic stops all stops across the county. So for example, one of the pieces of evidence that the court relied on was that there was expert testimony after reviewing all of the data on traffic stops that Maricopa County keeps, that Latinos, when they're pulled over for a traffic violation, are stopped longer than people who aren't Latino. That was one of the pieces of evidence. And there were traffic stops that occurred both during saturation patrols and not during saturation patrols. Now, the sheriff has said he's appealed some aspects of the judge's orders, and one of the things that the sheriff has said in his appeal is that there was only evidence going to saturation patrols, but that was not the district court's order.
Okay, just to correct you, I did not say that was the
Mr. Liddy, let me
I
translate.
said that was the traffic
Okay,
stop.
let me translate and then you can say your bit. Ms. Wang is trying to explain, she states that Mr. Liddy said that this traffic stop during Saturday.
Large scale traffic.
No, I have to speak Spanish, I'm sorry. La señorita Wang estuvo explicando que el señor Liddy había dicho que estas paradas de tránsito habían ocurrido donde patrullaje de saturación, que quiere decir cuando ponen un número excesivo o demasiado de policías en un área y paran muchos individuos y se acercan muchos individuos de ese área, y que la Corte encontró que estaban parando más latinos que cualquier otro grupo, y que cuando paraban a una persona del grupo latino lo paraban por más tiempo que paraban a cualquier de otro grupo. El señor Liddy dijo después que él no había dicho que eran patrullas de saturación. Son dos abogados hablando juntos.
Okay, what I'm trying to find out is, say the town of Guadalupe, predominantly Hispanic, okay, sheriff patrols there, cars are being stopped there. The only people that can stop are Hispanic. Are we getting a lot of complaints from Guadalupe?
El punto que dice el señor es que, por ejemplo, en la ciudad de Guadalupe, todas las personas que se van a parar en la ciudad de Guadalupe deben ser de la raza hispana, que sí están recibiendo muchas quejas de la ciudad de Guadalupe. Chief Chairman, we're getting a lot of complaints from Guadalupe.
I think I can answer that best. There was a study done by Professor Dr. Katz from Arizona State University. It was a blind study that compared 6 law enforcement agencies against each other. Unbeknownst to any of those law enforcement agencies, it was a 2-year study. You can look that up online. It's called the AARIN study, A-A-R-I-N, under Dr. Katz. It's online. And I can tell you that the Sheriff's Office number is number 2 in that study. We're the only law enforcement agency that knows. During that study, during that time period, during the time period this case was being litigated and in trial, was the time that this study was going on. They asked questions, a series of questions of individuals that were arrested in intake, fresh off the street, out of handcuffs, by police officers and deputy sheriffs. Were you discriminated against? Did they use force against you? Did they point a gun against you? Did they mistreat you? The Sheriff's Office, out of those 6 agencies, did the second best compared to the other organizations. We scored above the mean when it came to, did they discriminate against you? Did they use race? It's online, it's in the study, but I will tell you the secret that the Sheriff's Office number is number 2, and coincidentally, we scored the second highest. We don't know who the number 1 agency was in the Valley, and we don't know who the worst one was in the Valley, but we know the Sheriff's Office was number 2, to answer your question.
Deje explicarle lo más rápido posible, porque estuve hablando con algo rato.
One of the things I'm going to ask.
Can we say yes or no?
Sit down.
I mean, I love you guys, but you
Right.
guys are all lawyers and bureaucrats
Right.
and attorneys. Can we just make it simpler
Right.
in that?
Ma'am, I'd like to address the point here. Everyone has some views, opinions they'd like to express. We have to do this in such a way that we're also respectful of other people's time. So, sir, I believe you asked a few questions and you responded. Okay, well, I think Chief Sheridan just
If
just
I'm an
responded to
officer,
that.
I'm an officer of Guadalupe, and if we're not really Hispanic, all
Well,
I can stop is Hispanic people.
But what I think, sir, and I don't want to belabor that issue. But the issue is, it's not so much who's stopped, but it's the reason that they're stopped, and we get into
You
terms
said
that are
traffic
free.
violation.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
If I may, the court did find that some of the areas that were targeted for these large separation patrols were predominantly Hispanic. And that's one of the problems that the court found. It said, why did you go to Guadalupe? Why did you go to certain neighborhoods in Mesa? An outlier may have been found. No. So maybe if you go to a place like Guadalupe and you stop knocking the Indians and Hispanics, it's true. But the court plaintiffs will get, why are you going there? And why are you going to other areas of the
Because
county?
they work there.
I'm just saying what the court found.
Okay, there was a question from this side of the room. Okay, Chris.
I have a comment and then a couple of quick questions. First of all, I'd like to sincerely thank everyone who's here tonight who's involved in the monitoring. Certainly the ACOU for your participation and everyone who's involved in oversight. The comment I would like to make is that there is a climate of fear in Fountain Hills around Sheriff Arpaio and his operations. And the example I can give you is that several times I've had occasion to write to the Fountain Hills Times about my concern over Sheriff Arpaio and racial profiling. I have been told by multiple people in this town, don't ever sign your name to anything criticizing Sheriff Arpaio. He will get your license number, he will see that you stops.
Please,
Sorry.
you will have a right to express your opinion.
Yes. So, for those of us who are law-abiding and have lived here for a very long time, I'd like to suggest that one of the reasons more complaints aren't heard is that people are afraid to complain. The two questions I have are, I was told tonight, and I'm just curious about this, that there was an officer taking down the license plate numbers outside. Is that true?
No.
That's not true?
No.
No one was taking down the license plate numbers. Okay. Secondly, if citizens are invited to complain about specific incidents to the Maricopa office, how can they be assured that their anonymity will be protected? And how can they be assured that they won't be retaliated against?
Well, let me say one thing, and I try to translate it as shortly as I can. Again, when somebody gives a 20-minute speech, it's impossible for me to be able to translate anything near of what the message you're trying to convey. But, you know, Ms. Ramirez is sitting next to you. You know, you can file a complaint through the monitor's office. We will file a complaint with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office Department. We will make sure that we will monitor that complaint. If there's any retaliation, then we'll go to the judge and we'll tell the court there's retaliation against the person that filed a complaint. Should that happen, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. But if you have any faith on filing a complaint with the gentleman with Internal Affairs from Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, you can file it with us. We'll make sure that it gets investigated. We'll keep you apprised of where it's at. We'll track it, you know, it's been 90 days, 60 days, 120 days, etc., you know, when the complaint has been filed. La señorita, la pregunta que ella dio al principio, ella probablemente vive aquí en el vecindario de Fountain Hills. Dice que muchas personas que viven aquí le tienen miedo a la oficina del alguacil, que le han dicho a ella que ella nunca escriba su nombre en ninguna queja contra el sheriff porque van a coger acciones contra ella. Ella estuvo explicando que hay personas que no quieren hacer quejas contra el departamento porque tienen miedo a esas quejas. Dijo que la oficina del monitor, nuestra oficina, la señorita Ramírez, tiene los formularios de nosotros, puede darnos las quejas a nosotros, tiene los números de nosotros. Nosotros nos aseguramos que esa queja sea investigada, nos aseguramos que nada le pase a usted porque ha hecho esa queja.
We have a question here.
We have a question. We see.
Good evening. I'm here, I've heard the steps that are being taken to comply with the order. However, I'm here to report violations. Specifically, I went onto the website of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office because I was looking for information for someone that called that was looking for their loved one. And what I came across is a continuation of the attitude that this sheriff's office has. Specifically, there's a picture, and I've seen more than one picture on the website stating, "Help Sheriff Arpaio fight illegal immigration." So That's part of the recruitment effort that's being made by the Sheriff's Department. And what does that mean? Illegal immigration to me is racial profiling. So it still continues to take place. People are still being stopped. And so, as part of that recruitment effort, that should be taken off the website. That's still a continuation of the attitude, including statements on the website that said the enforcement of the 287G agreement and so forth. To me, there's violations that are occurring, as has been stated, inside the jails of people that are speaking Spanish, being treated differently. So there's continuation of racial profiling.
Okay. And I would ask everyone, there are some emotionally charged issues that are in this room. And in the name of constructive dialogue, let's be respectful of everyone. Please. Ma'am, I can't respond to that specifically, but one of the reasons we have the presence of people here from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office is for them to listen, okay? And we in our after meeting deliberations with Chief Sheridan and others, I'm sure they've taken note of what you said, and I appreciate your having said that. Now I promise someone from this side of the room, it was you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Lena Bell.
Let's get you a microphone. You feel comfortable with a microphone?
No, I don't need a microphone.
They can't hear. They can't hear. I can hear you.
My name is Lena Belliner, and I am a legal immigrant from Italy. And I've been a resident of Fountain Hills for nearly 14 years. And I've worked very hard. I love this community, and I love the Sheriff's Office, and I appreciate everything that office does. And I will tell you that I was an employee of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office for 6 years. And I want to tell you, ma'am, that I worked at the 4th Avenue Jail as a paralegal in the Inmate Legal Services Department of all places. And I want to tell that other gentleman too, that one of my jobs was to interact with inmates. I interacted with the inmates. I'm a paralegal. And one of the roles that I had was to make sure and to assure that every inmate, regardless of what their charges were, was treated fairly and equitably. Our Inmate Legal Services Department represented 9 different countries. Our potlucks were the best because everyone brought food from their own native land. The Hispanic community was represented by 3 individuals out of the staff of 14 and 1 supervisor. So the Hispanic community was very well represented in the Inmate Legal Services Department. And I don't know if many of you know, but our mayor in this town is Hispanic. I have one other comment here. Sir, there's actually a couple comments. You are asking your deputies to comply, and asking the deputies of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office to comply in a constitutional manner. But why are you not requiring illegal aliens to comply within the Constitution of the United States of America? I'd like to know that. The other, as a legitimate taxpayer for many years of my life, hardworking life, I want to know what is your salary and that of the monitor's office, who pays for that, and how much has this lawsuit cost the taxpayers of this county?
I'll respond to that. It's public record. The monitoring costs about $1.6 million a year, and that's very much on the public record. In terms of what the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has spent regarding implementation and legal fees and appellate fees, I I'm not in the best position to answer that question. You asked what the implementation is cost.
Salary is how much?
The monitoring contract is around $1.6 million a year.
And that's all your salary?
That's right, that's right.
Expenses are in
Yes,
there.
ma'am.
What
Yes,
other
ma'am.
expenses are in there?
Oh, I mean, our travel expenses.
And
But that's all public.
And it's all public record.
Absolutely.
But it all comes out of my hard-earned money.
Yes, it does, ma'am. Yes, it does. Now, in terms of the second part of your question regarding, you asked not just in terms of the monitoring, but in terms of the implementation, which I would assume also would have to include the legal fees that Maricopa County citizens pay. Chief Sheridan, do you have a response from Tom? And I don't mean, I want to put you on the spot for legal fees, but I mean, in
Yeah, I'm
terms of
a county
implementation.
employee. Yeah, I would say since 2007, I think the legal fees have been approximately $800,000 to represent the sheriff, and about $4.3 million to represent the plaintiff.
Right. And what about Chief Sheridan in terms of I know that there have been figures attributable to implementation in terms of equipment and things of that sort, cameras and...
Well, so far this year, like I said earlier, we've spent about $7.1 million. The fiscal year goes to June 30th, so we're anticipating, another few $2 million, probably $12 million this year.
You didn't, I don't think you answered the question about, you asked the question about the deputies being forced to act in a constitutional manner, but the other residents aren't.
Regarding what you're saying regarding people, okay, I have no standing on that particular matter. You're asking me about Latinos who live or pass through Maricopa County and what their constitutional responsibilities are. I have no answer to that question. Okay? Okay. You're basically asking if a federal court has jurisdiction over individual conducts of people by virtue of the fact that they're here. I just don't know an artful way of answering that question. Now, we have absolutely. Okay?
Ma'am?
We have.
What's your question? Can you restate it for me?
Yes, ma'am. The monitor said that the deputies are asked to comply in a constitutional way. That's what the order states, correct? But why are we not requiring illegal aliens to comply in a constitutional manner?
To answer your question, this lawsuit was brought because the MCSO was violating the constitutional rights of Latinos, citizens and not citizens. Our lawsuit is not about that. Someone else can bring that lawsuit if they want to bring that
I think
lawsuit.
we have an area of agreement here. It's important. The Bill of Rights and the courts are going to protect everyone who's present here in the country, whether they're a U.S. citizen, legal aliens, or unlawfully present. Everyone has constitutional rights. And the federal court has asked this monitor to ensure that the state actors, the state, the police, the guys with the badges, in this instance the deputies, protect the rights and respect the rights of individuals. An allegation that somebody out there doesn't work for the government, maybe violating the state constitution, doesn't really make sense, because the Bill of Rights is there to protect all people against state actors. So police are state actors, individuals, whether they're here lawfully or unlawfully, are not state actors. And therefore the court and this monitor would not be empowered to investigate how to deal with any of their conduct.
It would generally be a good time to quit when the attorneys agree on that. But we'll take a few more questions, and ma'am, I know I know, even though you said something at the beginning, I know you've been waiting to say something. Okay? Hey.
What, I'm sorry. You? Yeah, me. Okay. The other Linda. The other Linda.
Hi, I'm Mayor Linda Kavanaugh. First Hispanic mayor of the town of Fountain Hills, but not first on the council. My name is Fernandez. My Sheriff Arpaio supported me wholeheartedly in both my elections. I have two concerns as the mayor of this town. First is, how safe are we going to be in the town of Fountain Hills after this is all over? How overly cautious is this going to make our deputies? Many years ago, we had a very small police force, our marshals, and they did the best they could. But unfortunately, we needed more services, and we needed much more protection because the valley became rampant with drugs and other more serious crimes, and it started to infiltrate into Fountain Hills. So we hired the Sheriff's Department, and since we've done that, crime's gone down. I, as a female, can walk the streets of Fountain Hills at 3 o'clock in the morning. My concern is, how overly cautious and nervous is a deputy going to be that if he sees something that his instinct, and my husband was a detective sergeant in New York, retired 20 years, and instinct is a big part of a policeman's job. So how is he going to be so concerned that someone is going to bring charges against him, that he's not going to be proactive? I'm concerned about that. I mean, I understand that you want to make sure that everything is going constitutionally and that that you are ensuring everyone's rights. But on the other hand, you know, there are the rights of the innocent people to be protected. And that's my first.
Mayor, the only reason I need the Chief Martinez to be able to capture that so people understand.
He's pretty good at it.
Right.
You can sum it up.
Let me answer your question, then I'll sum it up. 99.99% of things that are in disorder are best police practices. It's not something that have to go to the moon to make an arrest. It's not something that they can't make arrests. You can have good policing. In fact, it makes your policing good policing. Not just for the Latino community, for all the communities. It doesn't matter where you're from, the language that you spoke when you were born, etc. So it's all good police practices. Hearing it from Deputy Chief Sheridan, most of the deputies welcome the changes. More supervision is good. More supervision equals good policing. That the policeman's out there doing what your taxes are paid for, not sleeping under a tree. Not saying that they're doing that now, but it's what supervision does. You make sure that you're getting your dollars worth for that policeman that's out there. So it's all good policing practices. Video recorders that embody. In most instances, you know, and I know there's some privacy issues, most video recordings clear the police officer when they do something. Studies have shown that it shows that the allegation wasn't, so it's going to show proof that what the officer said he was doing was right. If he's not doing the right thing, you don't want it in your police department. So that answers the question. La pregunta que ella estaba haciendo, y perdonen que no he traducido hace rato, porque cuando hablo por mucho tiempo es difícil repetir ese mensaje, es que el miedo de ella como la alcaldesa de esta ciudad es que si los policías, por culpa de esta orden, van a darle menos servicio porque van a tener miedo de ser policía. La respuesta de nosotros como monitores, con cientos de años de experiencia que tenemos aquí siendo monitores, es que lo que dice esta orden son las mejores prácticas policíacas de los Estados Unidos. No le están requiriendo que hagan algo bien más diferente que los departamentos de los otros estados están haciendo. Son políticas que protegen policía, y hasta el jefe Sheridan nos ha dicho a nosotros que los policías en la calle, que son los importantes para ustedes, son los que ustedes tienen el roce con todo ellos diariamente, ellos quieren estos cambios. Más supervisión es importante para ustedes. Hay un sargento que está vigilando lo que está haciendo ese policía y se está asegurando que los impuestos que usted paga, los taxes que usted paga, que ese policía le está dando la labor que ustedes están pagando.
Okay, well, that sort of answers my question. I still feel that police are human, and someone constantly looking over their shoulder is going to make them a little bit cautious. Now, my second point, if you don't mind, are the cameras. Many people today have a real anti-camera privacy issue, and whether you're stopped and you haven't done anything wrong, you're still being recorded that you were somewhere, somehow, and maybe you weren't at work, maybe you weren't where you were supposed to be. You're being recorded, and that's on the record, and that could be a permanent record. Now, there's a lot of people that don't want to be recorded. A lot of people don't want people wearing Google glasses. And it's kind of the same thing. It's a privacy issue, and there's too much of our privacy being invaded. So I am very concerned about someone recording everything that I say and I do if I should get stopped for a tail light being out or something like that. And I really think you have to look carefully at the issue and have some very strict guidelines to protect the person who wants their privacy protected. And thank you.
Good comment, Mayor. What I would say, if I could just generalize this and not just make it relevant to Maricopa County, I would venture to guess that within the next 10 years, and there are 17,500 police departments in the United States, and I would venture to guess within the next 10 years, every police officer will be wearing a camera. It's been done in highway patrols for years, state police, a variety of municipal agencies, and I think as has been stated, they can be both either exculpatory or inculpatory. But as Ms. Wan said in her comments, and I can't speak for her, I'm only going to echo what she said, that there was and is a concern regarding privacy issues, and clearly on the table of issues that have to be discussed and that should be discussed as a community, that clearly is part of it. To the extent that citizens can impact public policy, you know, what the retention is of that material, what it's used for, if it's discoverable, how it's used in trials. There are a variety of histories already that exist. We've seen cameras for around 10 years. It's a good point. I know, I was watching the national news this morning, Los Angeles ordered 7,500 cameras, and this is the new age, and we're going to probably see this and then some. Okay, ma'am, I promised you, and I want to keep that promise.
Thank you, sir. If I hear you correctly, you had said only 14 of the 87 have been implemented. That's what we're here to do, not the implementation tonight. So my question to you, based on the amount of policy that needs to be written and the things that need to be implemented before such an item can be ticked off the checklist, lots of months of planning and what have you. I'm usually lots of planning and what have you. It seems to me that since 2013 of October, 14 of those policies have been implemented. Am I correct?
Paragraphs.
Paragraphs. Okay, out of the 87. So they're in compliance with a pretty small amount and about a year's worth of time. Is that correct?
The answer is yes. I'm going to put an asterisk next to it because I want to see what your next comments are.
Okay, so my point is, how much time does the court anticipate for all of this to take, and what's the total dollar figure? Because you're talking about man hours, policy meetings, things like purchasing of these cameras. How much is that going to cost? The storage, my husband works in IT, so when you have that much film, you have to have backups and infrastructure in place. The storage of that, the firewalls behind that, like the mayor was saying, the privacy concerns. Because I have some Fourth Amendment privacy concerns as well about that. So what is the recommended procedure for keeping of said films? Has that all been hammered out yet? And how much manpower hours is that going to cost us beyond the litigation fees and all of that? It sounds to me like we're millions and millions and millions of dollars down the road here.
The answer is that it's very difficult for me to give you an answer, and I'm not trying to evade it because I'll certainly cede the floor to someone from Maricopa County who's in a better position to respond to it. But I would say this, that regarding the 14 of 87, I said that I intentionally did not say only 14 of 87 because I know from experience that at the beginning to get these processes going, it is very, very heavy lifting. Now, on a positive note, and I must be very, very fair to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, that while they are writing these policies, and while they are creating this training in terms of curriculum, and we have made some major accomplishments in training, they have, and it has been with cooperation with counsel from both sides that has been done. But while these policies are being created, there is a mindfulness on the part of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office as to what these new procedures are, what these new prohibitions are. So even though it has not yet been formalized into a policy that we have approved, I am confident that there is a mindfulness on the part of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, on the part of Mr. Liddy, Ms. Frati, and her office, Ms. Wine, all of the council as well, because we meet on a sustained and regularized basis to assure that as we're creating something, that the organization is not moving backwards, it's moving forward. And I believe that Sheridan and others are on the record that if you set aside the litigation and some of the strong emotions that went with the litigation, the requirements of this order, quite frankly, have given the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office some tools that they perhaps would not have had, okay? Perhaps would not have been funded for. And I think all of these tools not only enhance processes of accountability, but I think it will make them a much more efficient agency in terms of their crime-fighting mandate. So, as I like to say, Rome wasn't built in a day and won't be rebuilt, in a day. But I think that they need to be given credit for seizing this opportunity and jumping into this. And of course, our job is to make sure that the court's order is in fact implemented, and this is why we have an adversarial process, and you've gotten to see a little bit of a peek of what it's like. But I think that's what makes organizations change. That's what makes people move, and these are positive things. So,
is there an anticipatory time frame on how long this implementation will
Well,
take, and when we can expect to see something about our storage of said tapes and how that's going to go, how that's going to be protected, and what our civil
well,
rights regarding that?
I would, without belaboring at one point, just without engaging counsel in I would imagine, Mr. Liddy, that retention of videos have much to do with the state archival laws and things of that sort. But I'll allow.
If I may, I think you're asking a very important question.
Yeah.
We're in uncharted territory.
It's a separate question. Well, it's not completely uncharted, as Chief Warshaw could say. There are other jurisdictions that have done this, but the questions you're asking are very important questions. The storage capacity of all these cameras takes a lot of equipment.
A lot of bandwidth.
And a lot of bandwidth, exactly. And it costs a lot of money.
Correct.
And we're in the process of working with plaintiff's counsel to come up with, and our staff, to come up with policies of how to acquire all this data, store this data, make sure that there's access to it so that the supervisors can look at it to audit to make sure that the deputies are doing what they're doing, and make sure that it's as secure as it can be. But you're asking great questions. We don't have the answer right now. We're in the process of getting answers, and I think we've made some good headway. And there's no disagreement among the parties on the questions that you're asking about. But it's going to be many months. It won't be until 2016.
Digitizing it, highly expensive for some things.
It's taking a lot of storage.
It takes an enormous
It takes
amount.
an enormous amount. My husband's in IT infrastructure, it's enormous. Trust
Give
me.
it.
I guess my fear is, I don't want it to turn into an Obamacare website that costs us $6 trillion and crashes constantly. It's an infrastructure
I think,
developed. And I want to know that when we get enough time that we're bidding these out correctly, that we're not throwing money down the hole trying to implement what needs to be.
Okay, Chief Sheridan is whispering in my ear that he thinks he has a quick answer. After that, we're going to take two more questions. Ma'am, I know that you have a question. I'm going to take you and someone from the other side. Jerry, if you want to answer that question.
We're very lucky here in Maricopa County. Taser International has probably the best on-body camera system in the nation. They have offered, we are purchasing 700 of those cameras. They offered to sell them to the sheriff's office for the cost of one camera, which is $7,100. Now, the caveat is the storage, okay? The cloud storage is we're in negotiation with them, and if I remember correctly, don't hold me to this exact number, but it's kind of close, is going to cost us about $350,000 a year. The court order says we have to maintain those records for 5 years. I'm correct about that. So that's about what it's going to cost us for the 700 cameras that we're going to issue. The only thing that we have hanging right now is the discussion on our policy. How is it going to be used? The mayor brought up a question. The Plaintiffs' Council has some concerns about it, as does our council, and so do we and the monitors. All of us have to get together, and I think we're going to start this process on Friday, if I'm correct. And we're going to start to hammer down that policy because we want to get this implemented as soon as possible.
And is this something I can attend, these meetings, like from Judith Stone over here, as a monitor? These kinds of discussions, or find out about the bids, or what you're putting out, or how you're deciding on these matters, as opposed to just a generic public meeting, whatever you.
Well, I mean, as we all know, bid process is a literally public issue. So
right.
In terms of, any particular meeting, I can't envision a particular meeting.
I don't want to go to your office and get it together, but you know what I'm saying, when you express they're being big, that's what I'm saying.
Well, the process is very public in terms of what their acquisition processes are. I would not really be in the best position to respond to that. Okay. Okay. They're certainly subject to public review. Ma'am, do you have yes, ma'am.
I just want to clarify something. Your salary and all the other high dollar amounts that you mentioned, $1 million here, $1 million there, 800,000 here. With the exception of the cameras, because I agree with you, everyone is going to have it. We wouldn't be, all these costs are being paid by the taxpayer, correct?
Correct.
And we wouldn't be incurring any of them if the sheriff's office had not been found in violation of the Constitution and federal law. So if they had been doing things the way they should have been to begin with, none of this would be happening, with the exception of probably the cameras.
There's a yes or no response to that, and
No, you can elaborate.
Okay, and let me elaborate. Let me elaborate if I could. While it would appear that the proximate cause of these expenditures, forgetting about the monitor, which means what I do and the people who work for me do, while it would appear that the proximate cause of that would be the court's order, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, I believe that some of the modernizations regarding the technologies are things that the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, would eventually have sought anyway. Okay, so I'm not prepared to say that it's exclusively because of the court order, because some of the requirements of the court order, some of the training, some of the establishments of what we call risk management databases are, as Chief Martinez says, very consistent with what we call generally accepted police practices. So I'm not prepared to say, and because I'm not in the best position to say, that ultimately the sheriff and the sheriff's staff would not have sought some of these improvements in some of these technologies anyway. So somewhere in there.
No, I totally understand what you're saying. That it's just cost over time and modernization and things like that. But the bottom line is, someone brought a suit, and a judge said because of that suit, they're in violation of the Constitution and federal law. And so some portion, would you say most of it, half of it, is because of that?
The answer is there is a requirement in there. Let's use, for example, the cameras. Okay? Cameras would be an example of the parties, to the extent that they reached an agreement, that they agreed on that. So whether or not, even though it was finally put in the form of an order from the court a certain measure of consent as it pertained to some of the remedies as a result of the orders. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, that'd be fair.
City? Okay. Okay. So what I'm saying is it was not necessarily mandated, right? Even though in the final form, it was put in the form of a court order. The parties came together and agreed for the common good and community good that the remedies in order to address the underlying issues that were found in the court order would best be addressed by the acquisition of certain pieces of technology, the creation of certain processes and procedures, and the delivery of certain training.
Well, even, could you give a ballpark percentage of how?
He just answered your question.
Okay? Let's go both. Everyone, okay, everyone has, go ahead.
No, I just was asking for a range of how much of it was because of the loss of the money that will have to be spent.
I don't know the number. I guess one thing I would say, just a thought I have as I hear you talking, is that all of the remedies, all the concrete steps that all cost some amount of dollars in the court's order from October of 2013 were needed to make sure that MCSO stops violating these particular constitutional rights. But I think what you're hearing from the monitor, and I've heard Chief Sheridan and others in MCSO say this, is many of those things they're actually happy with. Right? They're happy, regardless of how they ended up having to do this because of a court order, they're happy with them because not only do some of these things help an agency to comply with the Constitution and protect people's civil rights, they also are good from a public safety standpoint because it helps them with their policing. So they have multiple good effects. That's just a thought I had in response to your question. I can't give.
I'm going to give Mr. Liddy one, and there's going to be one more question after the comment that Tom wants to make, please.
And ma'am, from the 10,000-foot view, the taxpayers are going to fund governance. They're going to put money in the fire department, they're going to put it into healthcare, they're going to put it into the schools, they're going to put it into law enforcement. What's happened in this lawsuit, and I will tell you that we have 2 to 7 lawsuits per week, every year, throughout all the county, not just the sheriff's office. But in this lawsuit, the court found constitutional violations, ordered that they be remedied. The parties got together and used a lot of experience from all around the country to come up with recommendations for the court. The court blessed those. And so, in essence, the taxpayers and the Board of Supervisors is all on board. They're funding all of this. So the taxpayers are going to fund a modernization of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. No, they're not going to raise taxes because of that. But there are some funds that will not be spent on health care, perhaps, or fire departments, perhaps, or schools, perhaps. It's possible. So, but a lot of that fund would have been spent anyway. Obviously, the money that's going to be spent for the monitor staff would not otherwise have been paid. But the legal fees that are being paid, I mean, I work for the county, and I'm going to get paid regardless. I work on 100 different things every year, and so does my staff. We do hire outside counsel, we hire other things. So I don't think that the legal fees from the county side are going up any. So, in other words, I hope that helps to answer your question.
I'll make one statement, which is what I believe many people have been waiting for me to say. The last question. Sir, you're it. That's it. You're it.
Si me ayudan.
¿Cómo?
Una cosa, antes que todo, al cónsul de El Salvador.
One point first to the Consul of El Salvador.
Es una vergüenza para la comunidad que representa. Para toda nuestra comunidad aquí es una verdadera y absoluta vergüenza.
He says it's an embarrassment for his community and for all the communities that are here that he represents.
Debe quedar bien claro aquí y en todas las reuniones posteriores que aquí en el condado Maricopa
you have to speak very clear that here in the county of Maricopa
se han gastado millones de dólares.
They have spent millions of dollars
defendiendo lo indefendible.
to defend that is not defensible.
Estamos discutiendo asuntos tan inverosímiles como la esencia del ser humano,
We're discussing items such as a human being,
cuando que debiéramos centrarnos en el desarrollo, en el progreso de toda una diversidad humana.
when we should be focusing on the diversity and the progress of all.
Ningún ser humano es ilegal
No human being is illegal.
y debe quedar bien claro, aquí la oficina del sheriff del condado Maricopa violó la Constitución Federal de los Estados Unidos de América.
And to be very clear,
Was part of the illegal union, understand?
I'm gonna give you a few seconds.
But I'm just a fan, okay? So I can
por favor, por
No
favor.
le interrumpes, usted señor está hablando, ¿ok?
Ladies and gentlemen,
There's
listen,
nothing to do with
listen.
the merits of the
All right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, wait a second. Sir, I'm gonna ask you to thank you, okay? Look, this has been a peppered evening, okay? Which I think is good. Those of you who are taxpayers, and all of you are, got to see some of the things that the rest of us see behind the curtains. We got to see how council interacts with each other. Hopefully you've gotten to see the way we interact with council as well as with the sheriff and others. But this is an important issue, and notwithstanding the fact that we occasionally interrupted while others spoke, this is part of the discourse. And as you said, sir, respect is extremely important. Sheriff, I thank you and commend you for being here. Chief Sheridan, as always, and both Ms. Liddy and Ms. Wang, and Ms. Maldonado. Okay, thank you very much for being here, and please thank Lisa as well. We generally hang around a little bit afterwards. Sometimes we have important discussion as we leave. We don't automatically exit the room. So I thank everybody for their time. This has been for the collective good. We've gotten something out of it, and we certainly hope you have as well. So thank you very much.
I am very harmless. I just came like her. I know she's not.